I have titled today's reflection, Stand on a Rock. And it comes from Exodus chapter 33, verses 12 to 23, and I'm reading from the New International Version. This is the story of Moses being put into the cleft of the rock. But before we get to verse 12, we need to get a glimpse at the previous verses. See, God has said that He's not going to go with the people to the promised land, to fight the wars that they need to fight. They need to depart. They need to go. But God says, I'm not going. I'm going to send an angel with you. So as we look at this, certainly in the first part, we should consider that this is possibly Moses still pleading for the people of God. Verse 12. Moses said to the Lord, "You have been telling me, lead these people. But you have not let me know whom you will send with me. You have said, I know you by name, and you have found favor with me." Now, some scholars suggest that what Moses is saying here is, who's going to be left to go with me if you destroy your people? Moses, I guess, could even be considering that he might be the only one who gets to the promised land. Remember, God last week talked about Moses' people destroying them all and making Moses a new nation. Verse 13, if you are pleased with me, teach me your ways, so I may know you and continue to find favor with you. Remember that this nation is your people. So Moses is acknowledging that these are the people of God. They're not his people, they're God's people. But he's also acknowledging that he needs God to teach him his ways, to continue to lead the people. He needs to know the way God thinks, the way God acts. He needs to know God intimately. And it's always wise to ask God to teach you more about himself. Verse 14. The Lord replied, "My presence will go with you, and I will give you rest." This is a statement of what the presence of God means, not only in Moses' life, but in our life. With the presence of God, we have rest. In other words, we don't have to worry. We don't have to worry about anything if God is with us. Verse 15. Then Moses said to him, if your presence does not go with us, do not send us up from here. Do not send us if you're not going to go with us, God. I'm sure we've all felt that way. If God sends us, we need to know that God is with us. Verse 16. How will anyone know that you are pleased with me and with your people unless you go with us? What else will distinguish me and your people from all the other people on the face of the earth? The word pleased, which occurs in this verse and the following verse, is grace. It's a state of favour with God, e.g., grace. And oh, how we need God's grace. Because it's God's grace that distinguishes us as the people of God. Not only the fact that we receive God's grace, but we also give God's grace. That's what makes us different. We forgive. We show grace. We show mercy. We show the qualities of the nature of God in the way we live out our lives as the people of God. And yes, we will stuff it up just like these people did, just like the Israelites did. Verse 17. And the Lord said to Moses, I will do the very thing you have asked, because I am pleased with you, and I know you by name. To know someone by name meant that they weren't just a casual acquaintance. It meant they were a friend. It meant that you knew them much better than just the average people that you come across. It meant that you had invested in a relationship with them. And God invests in a relationship with us. And we should invest in a relationship with Him. It's so important. Verse 18. Then Moses said, now show me your glory. What a request. A request of God to show His glory to Moses. And here's how it played out. Verse 19. And the Lord said, I will cause all my goodness to pass in front of you, and I will proclaim my name, the Lord, in your presence. Now, a proclamation of someone's name was a declaration of their power. So, the power and the presence of the Lord was going to pass in front of Moses. Continuing. I will have mercy on whom I have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion. But, he said, you cannot see my face, for no one may see me and live. So God's saying, I'll decide. I'll have compassion on whom I want. And I'll have mercy on whom I want. The other thing here is seeing the face of God. We know from a number of accounts in the Old Testament particularly that it was well considered that if you saw God face on, then you would die. And that's true. None of us can stand in the presence of God, face to face with God, in our own strength. Which brings us to these final couple of verses. Verse 21. Then the Lord said, there is a place near me where you can stand on a rock. Stand on a rock. Now, the word rock was a stone mass, something big. It also suggests something stable, rock solid, and it also suggests a place of security. So security, stability, and big. Does that sound like someone? Who's the rock? Jesus. As we read these Old Testament passages, if we look, we cannot but see Jesus in them. And it is true. The only place, the only one you can stand upon in the presence of God is Jesus. Jesus, who died for us. Verse 22. When my glory passes by, I will put you in a clef in the rock and hide or cover you with my hand until I have passed by. So Moses is put in the cleft of the rock. We are in the cleft or the palm of God's hand. And then he covers or hides us with his hand. In fact, the word suggests his powerful hand until I have passed by. That is, to pass over. Just like God passed over the Israelites in Egypt and didn't kill the firstborn. Moses in the cleft of the rock, us in the palm of God's hand, and he passes over us because we are covered. And what are we covered in? We are covered in the blood of his Son who died on a cross. That's how we can come into the presence of God. That's how God passes over us and does not take our life. Only through Jesus. Verse 23. I will remove my hand, and you will see my back, but my face must not be seen. Now Moses encounters God. In a real, tangible way. We too can do that. But in hope, let us remember, there will be a day when everything that is wrong and sinful in us will be totally taken away, and we can stand in God's presence, face to face with God. That's our hope, our guaranteed hope for the future. But right now, like the people of Israel, we are guaranteed of God's presence with us wherever He sends us. So we should never be afraid to go where God sends, leads, calls us to go. He will be with us. Amen.